Yes, recovery from what? Recovery from drug addiction, from alcoholism, from mental health, and recovery from anything. I'd like to get guests on here that are recovering from relationships, even maybe in the future. But we are a recovery podcast. Please, before we even start, can you please subscribe? Can you like the channel and share it with lots of people? Because we're here to inspire and help you show that recovery is possible. Today, I have a very, very, very special guest, a good old friend of mine. His name is Jeremy Jackson. Welcome to the corner.
Good to see you, man. Thanks for having me on here.
Good to see you too. You've been on this podcast a long time ago when it was really like kind of Uber, COVID in my office. It was kind of ghetto, but like we've kind of dialed it in now, so it's still good to have you here.
You look super cool, man.
And I've been seeing you on other people's podcasts, and I'm like, wait, that's my friend.
Yeah.
I know him.
Yeah, we started.
That's right, we started, and boy, did we have a story.
We started this gangster shit. That's the motherfucking thanks I get.
That's right. That's right. Hell yeah, good old West Side Connection. Okay, so Jeremy, let's hear a little bit about your upbringing. Where were you born?
Born in Orange County, born and raised here. Born in Anaheim, actually. Lived in the city of Orange for a little bit, but I moved to Newport Beach when I was about 6 years old.
Okay. And Newport life was how? You have a sister too.
Yeah, I got a little sister. Okay. Newport life was, it was kind of like fancy, you know? So I kind of coming from the slums of Anacrime with a bunch of tweakers in the alleyways and mechanics wrenching on cars all night, and me and my little single mom on housing, you know, cockroaches coming up from the drains, and social workers coming over to make sure you're still broke, and, you know, people arguing and women getting beat, you know. That was a kind of a crusty little apartment complex.
Over in Anaheim.
Yeah. So moving then to Newport Beach, a brand new apartment complex, like tucked in back by the Girls and Boys Club, like on 16th, and it was all fancy, and we could walk to the beach. It was like, wow, this is cool.
Beautiful
Coming
life
up in the world.
Yeah, good old times. And then if you say you're single mom, was mom and dad never married?
So my dad, I never met. My mom kind of tried to tuck me away and hide me from him. He was a gang member, a heroin addict, in and out of prison. So she didn't want me to be around that way. Yeah.
Okay. And then growing up in Newport, what high school did you go to?
Well, I went to Newport Heights Elementary School.
Okay.
But I got too busy working in the entertainment industry by the third grade to stay in school.
And how'd they find you? Was your mom trying to get you to get an agent or anything like that? Or what happened?
From a very early age, all I wanted to do was gain approval, get applause, and be liked. So I learned how to dance, sing. I taught myself how to do costumes and, you know, speak in freaking accents and stuff like that.
Yeah. So
she just knew I was a ham. I would like beg her to take me to karaoke bars. I'd be like 4 years old singing karaoke.
You were an actor of the making.
I was. So one day she was actually at Orange Coast College and just saw a little bulletin board up with like a number of call an agent. And she called an agent. We went out to LA and I met this agent who turned out to be the agent for like the Olsen twins and Screech from Saved by the Bell and a bunch of other she was like the big time child agent.
Right.
And they picked me up.
And you were how old right then?
I was 5.
5 years old, that young.
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened? Were you doing commercials or anything before you actually got the TV gig?
Yeah, I got my first commercial when I was 6. My first commercial ever was a Mattel commercial. And it was like color racers. It was the cars that changed color when you dipped them in water.
Oh, those were dope.
They were dope.
Yeah.
And I already was like a Hot Wheels fanatic.
For sure.
I had my favorite one. It was the little Camaro that was like, I think it was a Corvette.
Yeah.
It was a Corvette that was chrome.
Right.
That was my favorite one.
Yeah.
So to get a Mattel commercial was a big deal for me.
Right.
So, and I knew it was a big deal, and I knew I wanted to be in with Mattel.
I think that would have been a big deal for any kid in the world. Right.
I did a good enough job to get 7 more commercials out of that.
When you were doing these commercials, was there other people trying out for the commercials?
Oh yeah, hundreds.
Oh really?
Yeah. Hundreds.
Is that even for commercials?
Yeah. Drive up to LA and you go into a building and you walk in and there's, you know,
whoever's casting
30 moms with their kids.
Yeah.
And they're all, you know, rehearsing, and you go into a room and it's a bunch of adults and you stand on a mark and you say the line, you know?
It's crazy. Like they even want to like make sure they pick the right person for the commercial, but that would make sense.
Dude, it's so critical.
Right.
You know?
Okay. So you did some commercials and then what?
Well, that kind of exploded, and then I did a bunch more, and then I started having a lot of trouble at school because, I'm coming back after summer vacation, and I'm the kid that was like on the Frosted Mini Wheats commercial and the Mattel, and you know how that is. It's
So was mom taking you from Orange County to LA all the time?
Orange County to LA in her Volkswagen Bug that would catch on fire pretty much every time.
I had a Volkswagen Bug, those old school ones.
Did it catch on fire?
I mean, I actually crashed it, but yeah, I know those
Those
things.
engines always overheat.
You don't see a lot of those on the road anymore.
No,
Probably
no.
for a good reason.
They're expensive now.
Yeah. Now they're like they're a hot commodity.
Totally.
So, so people were, what were they doing? Like kids in school were telling you like you're the guy from the commercials.
Well, they just see me on summer vacation,
Yeah.
every 10 minutes on the commercial. So
Yeah.
I don't know if it's like felt like they developed some kind of look at the
Like
cats on
like
Matthew.
hatred, not
Yeah, hate jealousy.
Jealousy.
Yeah, because now all the girls are talking about me and
course.
the guys are jealous. So I'm getting in schoolyard scraps,
Yeah.
It was gnarly.
ooh, it was like that.
Yeah.
How old were you? Was Baywatch the very first show that you were ever on?
So I did a couple of other TV shows.
Like as a just a person,
Yeah.
like an actual
Like a bunch
role?
of different, actual roles, and I was landing them left and right, dude. I was
Right.
like knocking them out. I developed sort of a hatred for me and my mom. They were like, "Oh, here comes that kid. He'll probably get it."
right.
So people started hating on
Were
us.
you educated? Did you do well in school during those times? Because
Dude,
you're a smart guy.
I'm dyslexic. I'm ADHD. I can't write. I write backwards.
Really?
Yeah, dude. It's gnarly. I mean, now I can, but when I was a kid, I was gifted learning disabled. That's what they called it. So I qualified for GATE and I qualified for special day. They didn't know whether to put me on the, on the field in the
Right.
trailer all day,
Yeah.
and I did special ed, or to put me in the accelerated program.
Wow.
So I was really smart, but I was also held back in a lot of different stuff. So, it didn't interest me. I was super hyper, always getting in trouble, hated school. But
But it seemed like you knew how to land
I
the
had
roles.
a knack. I had a
Yeah,
knack
yeah.
for like performance.
Right.
And I knew what to do to get the job done. Make eye contact, nice handshake,
Yeah.
pronunciate right, hit my mark, say it
Who
with
taught you this stuff?
enthusiasm.
Your mom, your
My
agent?
mom did help me a
Yeah,
lot.
yeah.
My mom did help me a lot. But from a very early age, I studied Elvis Presley. I studied Michael Jackson.
Right.
Believe it or not, I studied Knight Rider, dude. It was like Michael
great.
Dudikoff, like Airwolf,
Yeah.
and David Hasselhoff. And I was like, I need to act like that. I need to do that.
It's interesting because like if you ever watch childhood actors that really got famous at a very young age, when they talk off camera, like if they're being interviewed, you're like, this kid talks like he's like a fucking adult.
Yeah.
Like an advanced adult.
Right.
An educated adult. So
I studied adults.
yeah,
You
were
I
studying these-
emulated them.
Yeah. And Michael Jackson, I mean, come on now. He was just one of a kind.
Yeah.
Cool. So then you landed this role on Baywatch.
Yep.
How old were you?
10 years old.
10 years old.
Actually, 9. We didn't start filming till I was 10. So 5, 6, 7, 8, 3.5, 4 years of doing 60 commercials, a bunch of TV shows, a movie, and stuff like that. So I was already kind of polished by the time I got Baywatch. I was always
What was the movie?
I did a movie called Shout. It was a Universal production with Jamie Walters, who was from that. Remember that? How do you talk to an angel? How do you hold her close? That song.
Yeah.
I think he was on 90210 as like the bad boy.
Right.
But then he did this movie with John Travolta and myself. And then I did the Wonder Years. I played Fred Savage in a flashback.
Oh, wow.
So I was already on a lot of big sets. I did a show with Ed Asner, and what was that called? I don't know.
Wonder Years was a great show.
Wonder Years was a
Yeah,
good show.
I love it.
Have you seen the remake?
I've seen that
haven't
it's
seen
out. I haven't watched it.
Yeah, me neither.
Yeah. So when they told you that you're going to be on Baywatch,
Mm-hmm.
did you think this is fucking major? I mean, you've already been doing a lot of stuff, but like this is major. I mean, with David Hasselhoff, the guy
Yeah.
that you studied.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, yeah. I had already developed this awareness that don't get your hopes up too high.
Just in case, because
Yeah.
Hollywood just has a way about it.
Yeah, because I had gone for like shows or movies that were like Free Willy, like
Right.
it was me and the other kid. And I was like, dude, I know this movie's gonna go huge.
Yeah.
I know this would change my life. And you get really, really excited, and then you don't get it. And it's like you feel like you lost millions of dollars.
Right.
because you were gonna get it if you got the show or the movie or whatever. So when Baywatch hit, I was excited because David Hasselhoff was my freaking idol.
Right.
I had no dad. My mom is the same age as him.
Yeah.
My mom's pretty hot. What if they get married?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. So the wheels start to turn, and you got to be careful because you'll kill yourself with depression if you get your hopes up.
For sure.
So I was already jaded a little bit, I guess you could say.
What was your stance on drugs and alcohol during that time? You hadn't tried anything yet, had you?
No. So my stance on drugs and alcohol was, my mom had really beat into my head, don't ever do drugs. And you're so sensitive, because I was super hyper and sugar would give me panic attacks.
Yeah.
And I was stealing and hiding sugar and like,
Believe me, my girlfriend's kid's 9 right now, going on 10.
yeah.
He gets the sugar and he turns into Pej when he was on meth.
Yeah, exactly.
Bouncing off the walls like Daffy Duck.
And so my mom would be like, see, because I'd crash too.
Yeah.
She's like, see what sugar does to you? If you do drugs, it'll kill you.
Right.
Because drugs are stronger than this. And I'd be like in the come down.
Yeah.
So she was always trying to like, tell me about this stuff. They wanted to put me on Adderall and Ritalin because I was all hyper.
To kind of calm me down. That's what they do for kids.
Yeah. And what she actually took me off sugar completely.
Yeah.
Like a no sugar diet.
Yeah.
We'd buy ketchup with no sugar. And this is a long time ago. It was hard to find stuff
Yeah.
like that. And that actually like pretty much cured it. It was a huge.
Calm you down.
Yeah.
Did you not go on Ritalin then?
I didn't.
Good.
Yeah.
Not that that changed anything.
Yeah. The story of my life. Try as hard as you may, everybody. I'm going to fuck this up.
When you were on Baywatch, were you still living in Orange County? Or did you put you up over at the places up in LA where the
Still
actors
living
stay?
in Orange County, man.
Really?
We stayed true to the game, loyal to the soil.
Because a lot of actors stay in those apartments, the Oak something.
The Oakwood.
Oakwood. That's where they used to house
Yeah,
all my
yeah,
actor friends
yeah.
that were like
Yeah.
on scene or on production. So how long did that show go?
Chauncey Billups, you know him? Remember the kid with the thick goggles from like, was it Sandlot or
Yes.
yeah,
Yeah.
he was a
You
friend of
see him
mine.
in a lot of
Thomas
memes.
Ian Nicholas
Yeah,
was a
yeah.
friend of mine.
Okay.
And they all lived at Oakwood.
Okay.
And I'd kick it with those guys.
Yeah. And
I'd
there
go
was a
hang
lot of
out.
activities going on at the Oakwoods.
I know.
For
I
sure.
kind of wished we were up there. I think that's why my mom stayed in Orange
She's like,
County.
no, I'll just drive you up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. She knew she was saving me from some weirdo stuff. Probably some of those, Illuminati child molester fucking photographers and shit. You know what I mean? Like that
there's
was
a lot
going
of
on.
shit that's coming up these days.
Dude, there was a guy who we went to this pool party for actors, and I was like kicking it with Soleil Moon Frye, and she like Punky Brewster had her big old boobies
Yeah.
all over me and stuff. It was pretty cool.
When she grew up, she kind of developed.
Big old boobies.
Yeah. She did.
And gosh, who was there? A bunch of like Clarissa Explains It All girl was there, and all the moms, the stage moms, were like, "Hey, so and so wants to take a picture, do a photo shoot with your son." And there's a picture on the internet. You can find it. I'm holding a big inflatable beach ball over my head, and I have red swim trunks on.
Yeah.
And I'm in a pool. And he took one picture of me, and then he wanted to do a private little photo shoot. And moms were like, "Hey, this is the guy. Like, if he shoots with this guy, he's gonna get a lot of big roles." And my mom got a little weird feeling about it.
Yeah.
And she like didn't do it, mostly because everybody was being so pushy about it. Like,
Yeah.
you have to. If you have to, you
Yeah.
have to. So anyway,
Her intuition told her something.
20 years later, dude, that guy got busted for child porn, dude, big time. He had a whole little pedophile deal going on.
What is wrong with people?
I don't know.
The more I hear about so many things that are coming up for people that we really like admired at one time, you just wonder like, why?
Funny enough, that's like one of the most common questions I get, mostly from out there people. But that they want to know, like, hey, were you ever involved in any of that?
Yeah.
Like, spirit juice, blood drinking, adrenochrome.
Adrenochrome.
Did they make the offer? Did they offer you to sell your soul?
Yeah.
And I guess since we lived in Orange County, we just kind of drove up to film and then drove home.
Not that far. And probably less traffic during that time.
No traffic at 4 a.m.
Oh, yeah.
But had I been in the Baywoods or the
Oakwoods.
Oakwoods,
Yes.
who knows? That's where I lived in Baywood. No Baywood?
Oh, Baywood is in Newport.
Newport,
Or
yeah.
CDM.
Yeah.
Yep.
Instead of Oakwoods, I was in Baywood.
You were in your own little Baywood. So how many years was the show?
I mean, I did my last filming with Baywatch when I was 21. It was the Baywatch Hawaiian Wedding. It was like a 2-hour TV movie.
So 11
from
years of
11
film?
friggin' years, dude.
Did you start using drugs during that time?
I did.
How old were you when you did that?
Well, I started, I would say I was snorting coke, almost probably every day from 16 to 18. I started, I don't know, ecstasy maybe, smoking a lot of weed and drinking, probably 12, 13, 14, 15.
Did your mom know?
Kind of, not really.
Was she trying to regulate you?
So hard. Dude, she hired people to come find me. I had one of those Nextel phones. She was chirping me all the time.
Were these people that you were using with in Orange County or LA or in the scene or where?
Mostly when I was 12, 13, 14, it was mostly like teenagers, high schoolers, you know, always older people. I didn't get in with the rough crowd until like after 16, like Cowboy Boogie.
Yeah.
That's where it really started to crack off.
Yeah.
Cowboy Boogie, because I'd leave with, you know, who was like Sergio and I forget like their names, but it was like the coca guys, you know, the long hair, greasy cocaine guys. Like they were from freaking Mexico and they had the bombs flaked. Like that got gnarly.
I remember the Cowboy Boogie. I forgot about it till you mentioned it.
The Dollhouse.
The Dollhouse. God, bringing back lots of memories of Metropolis.
I was already bad by Metropolis.
And Club Rubber.
Yeah. I was telling these guys about Club Rubber, man.
Oh, it was a production.
Had to been there though.
It was, you can't even explain it unless you've been there and seen it and the way, the types of things we were doing, the drugs.
Remember
we were doing.
Jade Ashley, the go-go girl? Ashley Jade or something. She's
I believe
real
so.
tall, like
Yeah.
dark skin.
Oh yeah.
She still looks amazing. You got to look her up on Instagram.
Okay.
She's like a supermodel now.
Jade Ashley.
Or-
Now?
Yes.
What the
She's
fuck?
got to be like 40 something, and she looks amazing.
Wow. I do remember the name.
Yeah.
I remember.
And she was just a go-go girl, you know?
Right. So I guess then when I met you, you were probably 17 or you're probably 18. I think you're 18.
Yeah.
Because we were hanging out. Like, I think I was always 10 years older than I'm 52.
Yeah.
How old are you?
43.
43. Okay. Yeah. I knew that I was
9
like
years.
a decade older than
That's
you.
a big deal back then. 10 years is a big deal.
Well, the people that we ran in similar circles, the Chachis and all those types.
You were just a few chapters ahead of
We
me.
were a few chapters ahead, and because we already
tweaker
we had the
chapters.
total. We weren't even really that deep into the tweak yet.
Yeah.
We were still partying. It was about doing lots of ecstasy and things like
There's
that.
still some G and some ecstasy and
G,
still
all that
some coke
stuff, right?
involved.
And that was like during that time, being in Southern California between LA and Orange County, like it was really a happening time.
Double stack Mitsubishis.
All that stuff, right? We didn't have the Doves. Remember the All Stars, all that stuff.
Ferraris were pretty good.
Ferraris, all that stuff. What was the thing I posted the other
Dolphins.
day? Dolphins.
Yeah.
The Dolphins. That's how old I am.
Yeah.
But
Remember Chase? I think he was Tim Curry's roommate.
I remember Tim Curry.
Tim Curry, and he had that little short roommate that was kind of buff.
I think I do vaguely.
He was a good plug.
Yeah. We kicked it with Brogy and Tootie and all them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rozi's killing it now.
Oh, he's sober.
Sober a long ass time.
Been sober. He had to get sober, or he would have died. Right.
Like us all.
So during that time, like we were really about having fun.
Yeah.
We just like to go.
We were still in limos
there was a
and
time,
having a good time.
There was a time, and I know your friends will probably get a kick out of this. We somehow ended up in the Hollywood Hills at some party, and I got the ecstasy, I got the GHB flowing. And I'm over here joking with Jeremy, and in comes fucking Hugh Hefner with a bunch of playmates.
Yep.
And they needed some supplies.
That was, yeah.
I felt so accomplished. I was like a fucking redhead pink, a kingpin. Let's bring it on.
I was like, Hugh needs Viagra. We got to find out. Remember that?
Give Hugh
wanted
Viagra.
Viagras.
Give these girls the G.
Uh-huh.
We got them all G'd up and sauced them, all that
And
stuff.
got him, he was doing this. He was dry humping
He was
the air.
well
dude.
into his 70s during that time.
Dry
I
humping
believe.
the air, dude. Not kidding, like a dog with a red rocket.
We had some times.
That was Randy Basil's party.
Right. Oh, it was?
Randy Basil's, he did those mansion parties.
Was
Those were
Randy Basil
good.
living up there during that time?
No, but he was just doing those parties.
Yeah. He was active.
Yeah.
He was an active guy.
That night I was smoking coke in a cigarette with just 3 or 4 people left at the party at like 9 a.m. And I remember the maids were coming. I was like, oh, fuck. Like the party was over. The maids came to clean it. And I was like, dude, I'm just getting started, bro. Come on. It's over.
And like when we made that one video when I just saw you a couple years ago at the Rock to Recovery thing, I didn't want it to appear like we were sensationalizing those times, but dude, like we had some times, and here's the thing: it was really extravagant and looked really magnificent, which it felt at the time.
Yeah.
But I don't know that we really knew that we have a drug problem.
Definitely not.
Or in the making.
And I don't know, man. The times have changed. The drugs have changed.
Sure. There was nobody on fentanyl back then overdosing
I don't
within
know
5
if
seconds of dying.
anybody nowadays like has a good time. You know,
Right.
Talk about what it was like, what happened, and what it's like now. And what it was like is like it was really fun.
It was super
and it
fun.
felt like a total new era, new wide open, infinite possibility world
Right.
of friends and
It's because
clothes and
nightclubs kind of fizzled out, and it wasn't just about going and drinking with your friends or having bottle service and doing yay.
Yeah.
It was about going to the rave or anything like any kind of club that was acting like a rave, playing that type of music and doing those types of designer drugs, the ecstasy,
Yeah.
anything, the love drugs.
And then a week later, you know, being like, wow, I should probably go to sleep.
Exactly.
It was a whole
Why
week
am I so
party.
depressed on Tuesdays? I think I want to die. I think I want to kill myself. Like the ecstasy definitely depleted the serotonin and made you just want to fucking. The suicidal ideation was flowing. But down the line, though, Thursday for me was the Friday Junior, and by the time
Yeah.
I got to do a little bit of drugs on Thursday because we're about to go into the weekend. It just became an on. I don't think all throughout the '90s, all throughout my 20s in the '90s, did I ever take a break.
No.
Never.
I mean, accidentally sometimes.
Sometimes. When you have to
It's been
actually
3
catch a
days of
few
sleep?
Z's.
Yeah.
Or exactly, accidentally. Now, there was a
And
period
be
of.
really bummed about what you missed.
Right. You don't
Well,
want to
what
miss
did I
anything.
miss?
I don't
What
want to
did I
miss
mi-
anything.
Oh, man.
Why should I? I'll sleep when I die.
I remember that. Do you guys remember that tormenting feel of like, oh my God, I can't miss it.
Right.
I can't.
Right.
It's going to be so great.
Right.
And then wake up.
We started getting into some other heavier stuff though. Down the line,
Yeah.
we started. I remember we were hanging out in Orange at a house,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like some would call it these days a trap house. But really it didn't feel like a trap house because when you have a stripper pole in the middle of somebody's living room or even in their bedroom and you got tons of different types of characters coming and going, yeah, I mean, some might call it a trap house, but really like we're here to party.
Plenty of spray paint and markers to paint your shoes when you're bored.
It was the after party after the after party.
Cleaning supplies. If you just get a wild hair up your butt and you want to clean someone's
Right,
bathroom.
right.
You know, nowadays you walk in a trap house, they don't have any cleaning supplies. They got no spray paint. They got no paint markers.
It lives up to its name. It's like all trapped out, just dirty
There was
and ugly and
toys
gross.
there. There was tools in the
everything.
garage you could
Coloring
work
books
with.
galore.
Yeah.
Yeah. Gel pens.
Lots of super glue. Plenty of super glue.
For whatever
And
reason.
yeah. I mean,
Right.
you got to make the lighter work forever, you know? So you take it apart,
Right.
super glue it, put it back together.
So here we already loved each other. We were homies. We were friends. We'd have the Angelo Barsatis or the Jamie Laufenbergs or the Daryl came on my podcast not that long ago.
Yeah.
Big bounce coming through. But then some dangerous people started coming through. Some gangs, if you will. And they were after one thing. They told me specifically, we want the celebrity kids meth because you were cooking meth.
Yeah.
Is it okay to say that now?
Yeah.
Is the FBI watching?
No, it's okay.
See the camera in the corner? Say hi.
Yeah. Yeah.
So during that time, you got into cooking some dope, and
Yeah.
I've often told you this. I think that we were Breaking Bad before it was even a thought for a TV show,
Very true.
right?
man.
And not only were you cooking meth, I'm not bragging. Like I'm not trying to brag. Or I don't condone meth use. I think it definitely will fuck up a person's life. But this shit was beyond potent. I mean, it really was jet fuel, and it was euphoric. It took you in different directions, and it also, for some weird reason, and maybe not that weird, drew attention from the agents, the real agents. I'm
Yeah.
talking like the methamphetamine task force that was after guys like you, guys like me, because we were distributing it, you were cooking it. I remember leaving that house once and having a lot of, I mean, I'm going down the street with a gallon of GHB in the trunk, and all of a sudden I look in my rear view and they
they're
come
all there.
from different directions and they're behind me and they were all unmarked cars and some marked cars and they're following me. And I'm like, oh, this isn't going to turn out good. But the weirdest thing was, and this is like a few days later, you got arrested at the house. But the weirdest thing is they got behind me and then they drove away. And I was like, oh my God, I just dodged a cannonball. But then all of a sudden, Jeremy gets busted.
We were hot. So what happened was that was Johnny Garcia, right?
Yeah.
So I was okay. So I'm out living in LA, and I have this girlfriend who's gorgeous, ballerina, and she introduced me to meth. And I had been just snorting coke, and I ran out of coke. I was in San Diego actually at the hip hop conference. Remember those? Like
Those were dope.
they were dope.
Yeah.
But we were at the DoubleTree,
Yeah.
and I ran out of coke, and then it was like 3 a.m, and like nobody had coke.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, come on, dude. Nobody can call anybody.
For some yay.
I'm in San Diego. I might as well be in Japan.
Right.
If I feel so far away from home. I have no car. And so this girl's like, do some of this candy. Do some candy. Do some candy. What's candy?
Yeah.
She's like, I'm like asking people, hey, what's candy? And they go, like meth. I'm like, you like speed?
Uh-huh.
And they're like, yeah. Oh, that's disgusting, bro. That is like a poor man's drug.
Right. That's what we
distinguished.
used to think about meth.
We did.
It was the poor man's cocaine.
Yeah, it was if you lived in a trailer and you had no teeth, you did
Right.
meth.
Right.
And other than that, you drink freaking Remy Martin and you sniff coke.
Right.
So anyway, and then you smoke some when no one's around.
Right.
And so I did it, and it was gnarly. She had a candy necklace on, and I was wearing a candy
You
necklace.
smoked it or you snorted it?
Well, I said, I'm okay. I couldn't find any coke. I was starting to come down. I said, there's no way I'm sniffing it, but I will smoke it. Can't you smoke it? And like I broke like 9 light bulbs in the hotel room trying to figure this out on my own.
Right.
And anyway, I did it. And she had a candy necklace on. I had a candy necklace on. We ended up under the covers on the rollaway, on the fold out, on the couch that goes out into a bed.
Yeah.
Under the sheets, drenched in sweat, super high, having like the best sex of my life.
Right.
And like this candy
Because it does
necklace
give
was
you that,
dripping.
that drug-driven sex.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was, sugar laced, candy necklace melting, drug driven sex.
Yeah.
And I was hooked from that moment. I was like, dude, this
is everything.
Never not going to do this.
Yeah. Wait a minute here. During that time, you were still going to the show and acting too?
Yes, because the show was filming in
seasons?
in the summertime.
Okay.
So in the off time, if I wasn't yayed out, because I started going to rehab when I was like 14.
Oh, you did?
Because I'd get so yayed out and beat up, drunk, whatever, that I'd go to rehab, clean up for a month. And
Adolescent rehab.
yeah. And then go film in the summer, go get a haircut and some facials and spray tan, and I'm ready to work.
Were the tabloids reporting that you were in rehab?
No, I don't know. Maybe because I was in Orange County, I stayed away from all that.
They didn't catch up to you?
No, yeah. So I did that for a few years, but then when I found the method, it was pretty bad, but I would do the same thing. I'd clean up, go work, and then party it away all winter.
Yeah.
So because this girl was so hot, the upper echelon of the LA guys liked her. She knew the big dealers and the big suppliers. Mm-hmm. So before you know it, I'm hanging out with the Taiwanese, the son of the Taiwanese mafia who lives here, who's crystallizing meth for the Hells Angels. Hells Angels are cooking it. Then they're giving him like pounds of crank, and he's the guy that can take it from crank to glass.
Biker dope,
peanut butter, leave a bunch of crap in the pipe, and he could clean it and make it crystal.
Yeah. By washing it.
Yeah, and not just wash it, but there was an inversion process and a microwave that separated the chemical structure and a way to actually gain another reaction.
And you've learned all this from them?
Learned it all from him, dude. Start to finish, how to cook it from one of the Hells Angel guys. His name was Frank. His partner was a guy named Gary. Gary was a Hells Angel who was in the DEA. They both got popped. It was a huge thing. I was in the courtroom, dude, tweaked out at 17 watching these guys get busted. They were the guys who were taking it to Hawaii for like $9,000 an ounce or whatever. Remember when it was like...
I was actually part of that.
I think Tommy was in that a little bit.
I started moving it to Hawaii myself.
And wasn't...
this is before when you could actually take stuff down your pants and you didn't have to go through the thing.
We're part of that too, maybe?
I was part of it, and the reason that I stopped being part of it was because
everyone was getting busted.
One guy got busted one night before, and I was supposed to go the next morning, and I see Honolulu Airport bust, and I knew the dude because I'd seen him like be in the same circles, and I thought, oh, I'm not going to Hawaii tomorrow. No. We're going to sell this stuff out, and it was ice.
It was ice, yeah.
That stuff was ice.
So ice is based with ephedrine. So you can make meth with ephedrine, pseudoephedrine, and ephedrine. And the ephedrine was the one that looked like a snake skin when you melted it. Remember the honeycomb shape?
And it was like the most potent form of
Yes.
Amphetamine.
Yeah. Well, actually, there's something called shabu.
Yeah,
which
I remember
is,
shabu.
which is made with.
Shabir liked the shabu.
Yeah, it's hard to find. Shabir. Yeah. Is he alive?
I don't know. We
The G King Shabir.
we kind of fell out together.
But there's the top of the line is shabu, which is made with raw amphetamine powder.
Okay.
It's just amphetamine powder.
So
you got
you're so
amphetamine powder, then
knowledgeable.
you got ephedrine, then you got ephedrine, and then you
teach
got pseudoephedrine.
classes.
Yeah. So I'm hanging out with these Hells Angels, and they're showing me how to cook the stuff because the dude, Frank, who's in the Hells Angels, is dying, and it's you have to have an apprentice. And you got to teach somebody before you die. You teach. Back then, cooking dope was like a
Dying from
sacred
what?
thing, like a lung cancer. It was pretty gnarly. He was
So he was older.
yeah, he stank like death.
Yeah.
He could barely move.
Yeah.
He was all, a IV user.
Right.
Anyway,
So did you become the apprentice?
I became the apprentice. That house got busted for manufacturing. I got arrested for
What
manufacturing.
house? The house we
It
were
was a
at?
house in Van Nuys.
Oh, another house. Okay.
So that house got busted. I got busted with them, but the Taiwanese crystallizer and the other guys were like, they had been wanted because a bunch of people were going and getting arrested. A bunch of people were going to loony bins. A bunch of people were 5150. A bunch of people were screaming naked in the street. A bunch of girls had been taken advantage of, 16-year-old girls. So they watched these people for a long time. They're like, okay, you're getting daughters high and taking advantage of, you're
Yes.
selling, you're putting people in
They
loony
were
bins.
cracking down.
So they cracked down on these dudes.
Yeah.
I was the young dumb guy. So then they just poof kicked me out like on my own recognizance. And I was like, well, I got nowhere to live in LA, so I'm gonna go down to Orange County. And I went down to Orange County with all this knowledge
With the
and
knowledge
wisdom.
of how to fucking
Yes.
cook.
Yes.
Oh
And
my
then that's when we
God.
started getting into it. And
Wow. This is fucking fascinating. I mean, if you haven't written a book yet, you should.
one day, man, I'm waiting for the offer.
I'm telling you.
I'm waiting for the
Wow.
offer. And then I was down there with you guys, and it was Kim. Kim took care of me. I had lost remember Kim Knapp?
I remember Kim now.
I had lost my LA, homestead.
Yeah.
So Kim was a, call girl. You called, and she would just go with her bag of dildos and her 5 wigs, and she would go do these hotel parties
Right.
once a week. I mean, she wasn't even popping like that. And then she would take care of me.
I remember Kim.
And I just got to stay high and be there with my purple hair and my scabby face.
Yeah. Picking at the face constant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then Kim introduced me to Randy Cole.
I remember Randy Cole.
And then from Randy Cole's, I met,
Johnny.
I started going over to Johnny's house, which was Kim's old house.
Right.
Kim had
That
been there
house
before.
had all the vines and everything outside that was kind of hidden, but it wasn't hidden.
Right.
Yeah.
By the Circuit City.
Yeah.
And then that's when it started getting weird. And what happened was Johnny comes to me and he's like, hey, dude, I got a few pounds of crank.
Right.
Right?
And we need to
raw
cook
powder
this
speed.
stuff out.
We need to cook this stuff up. And he takes me over to this lady's house to do it. I said, I need a safe place. I'll get all the stuff. You bring the stuff. I'll bring all the chems and the glassware, and I'll crystallize this, and I'll give you the ice, and I had the turbo inversion process, which
Yeah.
is where you separate it and put it back together, separate it, put it back together, separate it, put it back together, and it comes back way stronger. So you can take kind of cock tease dope and make it be really potent.
Yeah.
And while I'm there, helicopters.
Was it at that house?
Yeah, I'm in this apartment with this lady who's still alive. I saw her at a detox recently.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my
She was
God.
very, very big, really, really large. Anyway, amazing blowjob. But I was stuck there for a couple days, you
He
guys.
doesn't change the bed.
Jabba the Hutt, dude. I'm not kidding. Huge. Anyway, while I'm at the house and the stuff is drying,
Yeah.
helicopters, vans, just looping, same car. Like I'm in this little pad. I'm like, oh my gosh, what's going on? This
Right.
is total setup. They're fucked us.
Yeah.
And what happened was, I don't know. That was around the same time when they were following you.
Yes.
And they pulled him. He forgot where the apartment was. He was driving around like a dummy. And he tried to set me up. He tried to tell him where I was, but he forgot the exact location.
Where exactly it was, he didn't know.
He didn't know exactly where it
forgot.
was, just knew that it was right around there. He was probably too tweaked out to remember.
Right.
So I narrowly escaped like a big red-handed meth manufacturing deal. And it turns out the guy that they pulled him over with had a bunch of child porn in the trunk too.
Oh my God.
So they got busted. The guy that was driving the car and Johnny. Yeah.
Oh my God. Shit. So did you not get arrested?
I didn't get arrested. They did, and
you
that whole
dodged a
house
cannonball
did.
there?
Dodged a big one.
Okay, so
And I got a blowjob.
from Jabba the Hutt.
One of the best to this day. I'm not gonna lie.
Sometimes looks can be deceiving. So now, I think, if I'm not mistaken, probably within a year or two after that, you got sober.
I saw her at the detox a couple months ago. I thought about asking
Recent.
her for another one. That's how good it was.
Did she lose weight?
No, worse.
You got sober after that, and I saw you somewhere, and you told me you were sober. I saw you at a club. It was at a club.
Yeah.
It was at, what was that place called where Rubber was?
Yeah. What is that called? I forget. What was the club though?
It was a different club.
Yeah.
I remember seeing you, and you're like, I'm sober now, Pej. I'm like, well, I don't know what that means. I don't know that word. I'd like to not to learn what that means.
I told him, I go, you need a sponsor, dude.
And I'm like, sponsor? I don't skate. What are you talking about? I don't surf. What do you mean sponsor? No thanks.
Yeah. So what had happened was,
why the hell did you get sober?
well, Orange
So
County
young.
blew up. That spot blew up, right?
Yeah.
And so then I ended up out in your Belinda, Michelle Torres.
No, I remember Michelle.
You remember Michelle, right?
Yeah. It was Placentia.
Yeah. Plus, so she started taking care of me. That was fun.
You always had someone taking care of you.
What else am I gonna do? I can't take care of myself.
Right.
I'm a nightmare.
Right.
But I got the secret to cooking really good dough.
That's right. That's
You
what
need me.
That's what you were like.
I knew I only needed that.
wanted by us, by all of us tweakers.
And then you remember I got that setup when those guys kicked the door down and those TRG, the Asian gang,
Yep.
had the guns in my mouth,
Robbed you.
That was Johnny again, because he pinched them and they thought it was me because he didn't want to comp to pinching them. So
Yeah.
they almost killed me. It was crazy. Anyway,
You got a hell of a memory, though. I'll tell you this right now. I remember TRG.
so
They were pretty gnarly.
yeah, very gnarly. The cops took me out the cops noticed 4 cars in an alleyway.
Yeah.
And Johnny and Randy standing out there and we're like, this looks weird. Let's go up there. And then Asian guys are running in and out of the apartment with merchandise.
Cops
It was
came right
Bridget-
then?
It was Bridget's apartment.
Oh, wow.
And Sisto and Bridget had just left.
Right.
And I took 5 Valiums to go to sleep. And in a 5 Valium stupor after I'd been up for a week, I wake up to a gun in my mouth. And they're like, did he mow, bing down, did he mow, bing down? I'm
Oh my
like, what are you
gosh.
saying? I had no clue. They said, give me we want it. Where's it at? Where's it at? Where's it at?
Yeah.
And I was like, where's what at?
Yeah.
I had an ounce of the gnarliest, fieriest meth in the world in my
Hugest
pocket.
shards.
I had no idea that they just wanted meth. I would have smoked them all out. Where's it at? I
You're
was
like, you don't even want money. You just want to get loaded here.
I was like, do I have government documents? Have I come across some kind of incriminating evidence or some treasure that I
Right.
don't know? Do I have a USB port that is naming all of your people? I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah.
You're so serious.
Yeah.
It can't just be dope that you want. That's
Yeah.
too simple.
Yeah.
My mind went to all these other places. So I kept denying that I had anything, but I had it and I didn't know what they wanted.
Right.
And the cops saw him, and they arrested everybody. And when I went out there, the cop pops the trunk, and he goes, you see this? He goes, you have no idea how lucky you are to be alive. No idea. This bullet had your name on it. These guys kill people for less all day long. There's no reason why you should still be alive. We've been looking for these guys specifically for a year. They not only killed a police officer in the Orange Hills, but they drug him under their car for miles. His body under their car for miles. These are cop killers.
Yeah.
These are the gnarliest guys in the game.
Right.
And the fact that you're alive, we're all shocked.
Yeah.
Like just looking, all the cops were like, it's a miracle this dude's not dead.
Yeah, they scared you.
They shoot first and then rob you. Normally.
Right.
But they didn't, I don't know, they wanted the really, really fired up.
Yeah. Well, they probably needed you for many reasons. Let's keep
I
them
would
alive
have
because you
gone.
might
I
be
would
able
have
to
gone. Set me
work
up.
for us.
Put me in a lab. That's all I need. I would have
Right.
been. I would have gone willingly.
Right.
That's all I wanted was a squad and a team. So that was really gnarly. But when I went out to Michelle and that's when I got busted for manufacturing. I sold to somebody who got pulled over, and then that guy said, "Yeah, dude, somebody gave me this stuff." And
coincidentally, I do talk to Michelle sometimes still, and actually a relative of hers wasn't doing well long ago, like not that long ago, probably got a year and a half, 2 years ago. And so we were going to try to bring that person into my sober living, but he kind of ducked and dodged. It didn't work out, but I still talk to her sometimes. So
she
I do
was
know,
a sweetheart, man.
Yeah, I know exactly who you mean. She was cool.
She was a sweetheart, and we were all doing the best we could back there, totally all out of our minds, hurting people, blind, lost, confused, scared out of our minds. But anyway,
so with these cops, like basically
they busted me at her house.
Yeah.
At her house, they followed me. Newport Beach police followed me, did a controlled buy on me. That guy who had gotten arrested called me, "Hey, I want some more of that stuff." I said, "Yeah, sure, no problem." He came over with a big burly friend. I didn't think twice about it and sold him some dope right in front of a cop. And they just kept watching me. And
did the tabloids get you then?
I think they did get me that time. That time they did get me. And
it's a great story.
35 years in prison.
That's what you were looking at?
Yeah. Manufacture methamphetamine.
Or get sober?
Well, no, it was $100,000. You remember Barnett?
It sounds familiar.
Is it John Barnett?
Oh, John. Okay,
John Barnett.
Yeah.
Okay. John Barnett fired me because I wasn't staying clean. And he said, "Look, I got this other guy. Sal Chula was his name." He goes, "I got another guy. He specializes in meth cases. He'll take you." And that guy, he was like, looked at me and my mom. He's like, "It's $100,000. I'll get it dropped from from manufacturing to possession with intent to sell, $100,000 straight up, and it'll never come off his record. He'll have a felony for life of possession with intent to sell methamphetamine." And we're like, "I'll take it." So I did like 3 months in a pay-to-stay county jail, the Huntington Beach, like work furlough little like trustee program.
Really?
Yeah. And I did 6 months in rehab, and it was total grace of God. I ended up going to like a rehab. Well, first it was called Wits End. It was in Dana Point, and it was like mostly hard timers, mostly guys that had done 10 years or more in prison.
In Dana Point?
And were released to,
Let's call it Wits End. That's a good, Wits End. That's a cool name.
So it was like me and a bunch of hard on the yard dudes, and I was like 20, and they like kind of broke me off like in a really dope way. And
what do you mean? How
like made me get out of my bed when I didn't want to. Made me do push-ups with them. Told me to get with the program, check it out.
So they were serious about their recovery.
They were serious about their recovery. I don't know if any of them stayed sober. I definitely didn't. But it was.
Well, I thought you did stay sober.
Well, yeah, I did for 14 years. After that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because when I finally decided to come get sober, you already had a few years.
Right. But since that day, I didn't stay sober.
Oh, you didn't stay sober.
I had a couple relapses later.
Oh, yeah.
But it was a great start to my recovery. It set me up for a long-term success. And that's when I saw you. It was after that charge.
When you saw me at the club, which I wasn't ready to get sober yet. But I knew that you were a sober guy. My friend that used to do drugs is now a sober guy, and I didn't really know what that. I had to go get myself into a world of problems too.
Yeah.
As a matter of fact, rated by the Orange County Methamphetamine Task Force and all that stuff, and that didn't get me sober. Another 5 years.
Steve Burdett, is that?
I remember that guy. Yeah, I went to my first experience in sober living was in Costa Mesa at a guy named Dave Regal's house. I don't know if you remember him or knew him.
I don't think so.
But anyway. That's not when I stayed sober. It was when I turned 35, almost 36, that I got sober. And I remember seeing you in Newport.
Yeah.
At the Newport Club. Frankie was there. And you had a few years and she had a few years. And I really felt like you were about it. Like you were.
I was, yeah.
You really were. But then suddenly one day I see you on Celebrity Rehab.
Mm-hmm.
I think you had 10 years maybe at the time.
Yes, I did.
What happened there?
So Celebrity Rehab, they kept calling me. Hey, $100,000. My manager was like, "Just drink a beer, dude. It's $100,000." I was like, "You don't understand, bro. My recovery is like really freaking important to me. Like, I can't guarantee I can drink one beer.
Yeah.
So I turned it down twice. 2 years in a row, I turned it down.
But why would they be calling you if you're in recovery?
Because they knew I was in recovery.
Shaky?
No, just in recovery. So almost nobody that's in recovery stays sober, right? So
there's a lot of celebrities that stay sober for a long time.
Yeah, but there is. But the the
A
ratio
lot of them
is,
end up going back out because they're
Yeah.
just exposed. And
so the calls were probably just like, has he relapsed yet? Does he need help, or is he
Ah.
still doing good? I'm like, no, I'm still doing good. Anyway, on the third time they called me, I was like, well, check it out, dude. I'm like, the type of shit that I shoot up, from B vitamins to all these crazy supplements I take, and on this regime where I'm injecting human growth hormone and insulin like growth factor and procaine solution and blah, 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 blah. I'm like, these words and this routine of injections
Yes.
would scare the shit out of anybody. I look like a drug addict.
Oh, okay.
So come over to my house and film me. He's like, I don't think they're going to go for it. I'm like, just send them to my house. Let me show them my setup, my thousands of needles, my freaking alcohol swabs, my hundreds
you were
of
ready to show all
vials.
this stuff on television?
It was $100,000.
She's
Yeah.
I mean, I
I'll
understand.
look like a
kind of,
maniac for
but I
$100,000.
needed the money.
So I went in for addicted to steroids, and I just played it up.
Okay, when you told me that, because I asked you, I go, bro, I just saw you on Celebrity Rehab. I sent you a message. I'm like, you told me it's because of steroids. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
Steroids? Like, that's not a relapse. I mean, maybe
It's a fine line.
it's a fine line.
It
As a
is.
matter of fact, when I saw you and Frankie at that meeting, it was a questions and answers meeting, and somebody asked a question. They put it in a bucket. Is steroids considered a relapse? And
You remember that?
I'm like, I wonder if Jeremy wrote that question.
I don't know if I did or not, or if somebody wrote it because they saw my big old puffy head in that meeting, my pulsing neck veins.
Totally. So you went on there and they gave you the money. What'd you do?
Oh, just 3 weeks in rehab with the Long Island Lolita Amy Fisher, who snapped didn't she cut that dude's dick off? No, she killed somebody.
She killed
Yeah,
somebody.
The
The other one was Lorena Bobbitt.
Bobbitt. Yeah. So the Long Island Lolita was like killed that other guy or something.
So she
Got
was
off with it.
She was in rehab.
Yeah, and Dwight Gooden,
And was Dr. Drew there?
Dr. Drew was there.
He was
I
part of
spent
it?
a lot of time with Dr. Drew.
Right.
He's actually super duper dope. I just
I
texted
love
him
that
the
guy.
other day.
I always
He
love
is
that guy.
great. He's honest and real.
As a matter of fact, I think that when you went through there, because it was Pasadena Recovery Center,
Yep.
my ex-girlfriend Stephanie was there with you at some point
On the other side.
on the other side
they
where the
bought-
celebrities weren't.
Right.
Because later she told me that she knows you. I'm like, how? From Orange County? She goes, no. I was in rehab with him. I'm like,
PRC.
what? Exactly. That's what she said. And I went and spoke at a panel there one time, and she was a patient again. I'm like, what the fuck, man? This chick can't get sober, but she's better now.
I went there twice. I went back there
As a regular
as
patient.
a real patient.
Yeah. So they gave you the money, and you were there for 3 weeks. And did you get loaded?
No. Oh no. I threw away all the steroids and made it look great for them.
And then you stay sober?
Yeah,
I mean, were you even sober or were you not?
Definitely the ways I was behaving, I was, deep in self, deep in insecurity, wresting satisfaction out of this world. If only I would manage better. Sure, other people were more to blame. I was, emotionally loaded for sure.
Yeah.
And if you got TRT, you got a prescription, or you got low T or whatever, but when you're doing these exorbitant amounts of stuff and just chasing, yeah, definitely not doing what we do in recovery.
Okay.
Was I drinking alcohol, smoking weed, taking pills, and snorting coke?
No. No meth?
No meth. No. But I was not healthy. We'll put it that way.
But then over the years, I remember that you still struggled to really put real sobriety together because you were in and out.
Yeah.
You even told me you did meth again.
Yeah, I did a couple times.
How many years are you sober now?
3.5.
100% abstinent?
100%. Yeah.
Why? What brought you to that point?
I was having the time of my life. I had been microdosing and macrodosing LSD, mushrooms, DMT, all summer long. And
Was that for depression or just for leisure?
just because
For fun?
because I'm have the delusion that one day I will control and enjoy my drinking and using. I suffer from this obsession. And I thought I was managing and controlling. Yeah, it was great. It was beautiful. And then on this one particular night, I heard, call it the voice of God, call it my highest self, call it plant medicine. I don't know for sure. But this voice came in my head and it said, you're a clown. Look at yourself.
Like enough is enough.
You're doing the same shit you were doing back at Club Rubber, you know, just trying to be the cool guy. And you're 40 years old and you live in a sober living and you're lying and you're taking advantage of people's kindness, and you're going to meetings claiming you're sober on weekdays when you've been doing acid all weekend, and you're going to fucking die, dude. Like, you can't
That's
do
a
it.
great realization to have.
It said, you've got to do the steps. I swear to God, it said that. You've got to do the steps. And I was like, what? Are you serious?
You mean to tell me that in that 10 years that you had before, you didn't ever work the steps?
I did the steps, yeah.
Weren't you sponsoring guys?
I was sponsoring guys. I was going to meetings. I was being of service. I was doing the whole thing. But it was exteriorly driven, dude. I was
So
still
there was
in the
never a
performance.
full
Dude,
full surrender?
I never had that happy, joyous, and free, man. I never had that
No-
fourth dimension. I
No,
didn't have it yet.
God?
I had God. I had pocket-sized God, pocket-sized program. You know, I just didn't have, I guess you call it surrender, you know? I was still
Okay.
under so many delusions.
So now I want to talk
Even know
about
it.
this 3.5 that you put together, which is a
Yeah.
big deal.
Yeah.
It's fucking monumental. It's wonderful.
I'd take this 3 years over the 10 years I had before.
Exactly. Now,
I'd take this the day I have today over the 10 years I had before.
I noticed a couple of times on one of your stories on Instagram that you were going down to Mexico because there was people that were doing ibogaine.
Mm-hmm.
Do you believe in ibogaine?
So I've sat with 3 people now going through ibogaine treatment.
And any successes?
I've seen rapid, amazing 3-day turnarounds where people don't want their fent anymore, like legitimately.
Yeah.
None of those cases have stuck. I saw it work in the immediate and not stick in the long run.
I had somebody very close to me want to go down there, and they ended up going down there. I think it was Puerto Vallarta or something like that. But they had me read this LA Times article, not LA Times, it was the LA Weekly article called Shock the Junkie. And when I read it, like in detail, I was like, why are they having me read this? And then when I got to the end of it, it was really interesting. It said, make sure that after you do this therapy that you followed up with some 12-step meetings and possibly like do the 12 steps.
Yeah.
So
One guy I saw die out there undergoing ibogaine treatment in my arms.
is that why they probably don't legalize it in America? Because
Well,
there's a possibility of
it wasn't. It was, he used on top of it.
there.
Yeah.
My God.
Yep. So, you know, ibogaine will push opiates out of your cell, and within 3 days, no matter how big your habit is, it can make your system fresh, like you haven't done opiates anymore. So you use a little bit, you go there high, and you start microdosing it. And because you're microdosing it, you're not craving as much. So you do less, and you do next day, you do even less. The next day, you maybe 1 or 2 hits a day.
Yeah.
And then on the 4th day, boom, you go down on a flood dose. And then you spend like 2 days not even knowing how to pee. Not even like, seeing demons, you know, or all kinds of crazy stuff. Light is really sensitive, shaky. I have to carry people.
I mean, the
to
article
pee.
was titled "Shock the Junkie."
Shocked.
Like
Yeah.
you're gonna get loaded, but it's gonna be dramatic.
Rocks your world, dude.
Yeah.
And then, you know, at that point, if you go back to using, you'll probably die because
Because you're to low tolerance.
no tolerance.
Oh, no
much.
tolerance.
Low,
Pretty
low-
much like
low to no.
a zero.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the aftercare, I mean, you know, kratom could help in that situation too, getting off, you know, with that. But then also kratom kills people. So
It's addictive too. in
I
its
got a
own
buddy
way.
that was doing kratom after a hip surgery from the smoke shop.
Yeah.
Okay. He runs a business. Guess what he was testing positive for?
A heroin?
Fentanyl.
Or fentanyl?
Yeah. From the kratom he was buying at the smoke shop.
So it was cut. And they're selling that shit in smoke
Yeah.
shops. Wow. It's fucking
Yeah.
nuts. Have you ever done any more acting?
Not really.
Any desire? Because I never really saw you in anything after that.
No. The desire totally kind of went away, man.
Yeah.
It doesn't entice me anymore. You know, I'm just more intrigued, inspired, and purpose driven for being a worker amongst workers. Man.
Okay, and the type of worker that you are right now, I know that you have your own. What is it called?
Energy Wellness Group.
INNERG. Energy.
Capital G, yeah. Inner G.
And what do you guys do?
So we do group facilitation
What kind of groups?
in rehabilitation centers, mental health facilities,
Breath work.
breath work. We teach all the stuff that's helped me this time around more so than anything else. Which
Meditation.
is
anything like that?
meditation, lots of meditations.
I came to one of your breath works one time.
Which one?
It was the one in Newport.
Okay.
It was great.
We're going to be doing one at the Newport
It was a
Alano
really
Club.
hot room, though. I didn't like that.
We're
too
doing
much.
one at the Newport Alano Club now every Sunday.
I'd be
starting
down to
in a
come
couple
check.
weeks.
I would like to come.
Come down.
I'll bring my girlfriend.
That'd be cool.
Yeah, and then also you go on retreats. Is it okay to talk about that?
I would love to talk about the retreat.
And
yeah.
what does the retreat
So the
consist of?
Balanced Man Retreat, it's in Costa Rica. We do it every 3 months. It's a men's retreat, men's work, healing work. Our tagline is freedom through discipline. And, the pain of discipline is, although it might seem hard at first, it pales in comparison to the pain of regret, and each one of us has today and only today. And we put things off, and men especially have, we've kind of fallen prey to accusations or toxic masculinity and all this stuff. But to be strong is really to be gentle. It's not to be rigid, and to be kind is one thing.
Yeah.
But just being nice comes from the Latin origin word nicete, which means naive. So there's a difference between being a nice guy, which is like a naive guy, which is a fake guy, which is pretending, and being a kind but strong guy. And in order to do that, we do a lot of the work that you'll find in many spiritual transformation programs like the steps or Buddhism or Taoism or psychospirituality or studying spiritual texts, Christianity, of rooting out these fears, dude.
Yeah.
It's the fear that's screwing everything up.
Oh, so much of humanity's in fear.
So we dig into dudes' fears and we help them bring those fears to the surface and get rid of the root of the problem so that they don't keep experiencing the same stuff and raise people's frequency and vibration. We have a lot of fun. We do intuitive archery. We ride ATVs. We get guys surfing for their first time. We box. We do jiu-jitsu. We, teach people the Navy SEAL tactics: OODA loop, observe, decide, and act.
I think it's
Observe,
beautiful.
decide, and act. Repeat. Observe, decide, and act. Because a man of action is first, but a man of reaction is always late. So we don't wait to react to life. We take action, which is everything we're taught. One foot in front of the other. Trust the process. Make a decision. Decide what your focus is, and go for it. Leave the results up to God, kind of thing. But if you don't take the action, you're just sitting around.
You'll
feel
never
good?
get anywhere.
Am I too sore to go to the gym?
Yeah.
Should I eat this? Should I go there? Should I say hi? Shouldn't I say hi? It's and then we're just stuck.
Yep.
We're not taking action.
One last question.
That's it.
You talked about your pops in the beginning.
Yeah.
Did you ever, throughout your life, end up linking up with your pops, with your dad at all? Do you have any relationship with him?
No. So there's one time and one time only that I remember an encounter, which I didn't even get to see him. I was outside playing like hopscotch. I don't know if I was like 4 or 5 or 6, and this guy pulls up in an old beater car and he goes, "Hey, Jeremy, come here." And it was too shadowy in the car. And I remember losing my breath. I was so scared because it was like stranger danger elementary school time.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Who wants to kidnap me?" And I ran home and I told my mom, and that's really all I remember. However, my most recent arrest before I got sober this time, this was about 8 years ago. I went to Wayside Supermax for like 4 months, and I ended up in a pod with some real OG dudes from Apple Valley.
Mm-hmm.
And they had done time in Corcoran State Penitentiary, which is where my dad did 15 years, the last 15 years of his life, really. And I was asking around, and I asked this one guy, that gentleman bandit, that guy that was robbing people up and down the interstate, and he was real nice. He'd be really kind to the ladies.
Uh-huh.
That guy was in there. We call him Cowboy.
Yeah.
Anyway, these guys are like 50, 60.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, "Hey, you ever know this name ring a bell?" And I told him my dad's name, and he looks at me and he's like, "Hold up, homeboy. Wait right here." And he goes over to the other OGs, and they're talking and they're pointing, they're talking, they're pointing. And they call me over and he goes, "Check it out, bro." So my dad's name was Worth Jackson Kuykendall III. Okay. But he went by Criss Cross. He was originally in Fontana, NLR, Nazi Lowriders Fontana.
Yeah.
He disavowed that and started something called like the Seventh Right or something like that.
Uh-huh.
And he went by Criss Cross. That's what everybody called him. Even his family